What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to show you how to prepare mate the Uruguayan way. So first off, some terminology. Here we have our thermos of hot water. We have our yerba mate leaves. I'm going to call it yerba though, because that's how it's pronounced in Uruguay. And then your straw is called the bombilla. And I highly recommend getting one like this that comes apart at the bottom. That way you can run a brush through and clean it out. The traditional kind that most people have down there are closed at the bottom, so a lot of weird stuff grows in there. So you want to get one that you can clean out. And then the cups, whatever you choose to use, whether it's a ceramic like this one, or gourd that looks the same, or cow horn, or a mug or a glass cup. Whatever you use, they're called mate, but also the whole set is called a mate. Now, I lived in Uruguay for about 2 years, and I fell in love with this stuff. It's really bitter, but it's an acquired taste. Eventually, you kind of start loving it. So first, you take your mate leaves, and you're going to want to take the yerba and pour it into your mate. And you want to fill it up about halfway, or two-thirds of the way. You don't want to go all the way, just because the leaves will swell when you put water in, and so they'll expand, and you don't want it to overflow once it expands. So you want to get your leaves in there about halfway, and then what you want to do is take your hand, put it over the top, flip it over, and that gets rid of the finest powder. So you have some powder on your hand left over, and then hopefully that cleans out the cup a little bit. And then you pile all the leaves onto one side. Sometimes it's hard to get to hold the shape, but you just kind of want a slant so that more leaves are on one side than on the other. Okay, now that we have our yerba in the mate, and most of it is slanted onto one side than the other, what we're going to do is take room temperature water, and we're going to pour it into the empty side. And you want to use room temperature water. You don't want to go ahead and straight up use your boiling water, because they say it like burns the yerba. So you want to use room temperature water to help get the leaves used to they being wet, and that helps the flavor last a lot longer. And so I've already boiled my water, it's in here. So if you're camping or something, I usually have a cup and I'll mix maybe boiling and cold, or if you're in the house, you can just use your faucet and just get room temperature water. Here I just have a little bit of the boiling water that I've put in a cup and that I've just let cool a little bit. And what you're going to do is you're going to pour it in. Now, you don't want to cover all of the yerba. You want to leave some of it dry. And I'll show you why you want to keep some of it dry in a second. But basically, you pour this in, and then you'll wait a few minutes, and you'll notice that the leaves will absorb all the water, and then things will expand too. Okay, so while we're waiting for that water to get absorbed, I'm going to say something about yerba. So there's a million different brands. If you go down to South America, their yerba aisle is like the cereal aisle in the United States. There's just so many brands, all are different. If it's kind of your first time drinking mate, you don't really like the bitter taste, you want to look for one that says compuesta con hierbas. That's basically saying it's composed with herbs other than your regular mate. Because the regular yerba is usually super bitter, so usually these compuesta ones are they have mint or chamomile in them, something to kind of make it more smooth. And so I personally like it more smooth, even though I've been drinking it for a while. And also I kind of like that the other herbs kind of give some kind of health benefit to it too. Then also they do sell this one brand of yerba in the regular supermarkets here called Guayaquil. Problem is that's $10 for a half kilo, and this was a whole kilo, and this thing cost me $10. So if you buy the hippie stuff that they're trying to market towards the health crowd at the grocery store, it's going to cost you twice as much than if you just go to a Latin store or a South American market and buy it. So this is half the cost of if you bought it at a regular supermarket. You can also find this stuff online too. Also, in addition to brands being different, the country it's made in is also different typically. So this one's from Brazil, and this is the most popular brand in Uruguay. Everyone drinks Canarias, although usually they drink the yellow package, which is super bitter. The Brazilian and Uruguayan yerbas are super powdery. Like this is like a very fine powder. The Argentine brands are usually very coarsely ground, like the leaves, like it looks more like leaves and less like powder. So that's something to keep in mind with, and it's kind of fun to just try a variety, try all kinds of different brands. Anyway, as we can see, our yerba has absorbed most of the water. And so what we're going to do is you're going to take your bombilla and we're going to put it into the wet side. And now usually they tell you to plug the top with your thumb so that way if there is water it doesn't clog up the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to push that in and we're kind of going to make a little hole. We're going to use the bombilla as a kind of scoop and we're going to push everything to the side. And there we have our little hole. Then what we're going to do is take our water and now we can pour it in. And we're going to pour it in like that, so where we don't want to get the dry stuff wet. You just want to get what's wet. You just want to get the inside where we made that hole wet. You want to keep some dry. Now from here, we drink this until the water's gone. Some people will choose to spit out the first sip because it's like the most bitter because it's the yerba was fresh. But you know, this one's not too bitter of a brand, so I'm just going to drink it. There we go. Just about 1 or 2 mouthfuls. It doesn't hold a lot of water. Also a note on water. So it's a tea, right? So you're drinking it with hot water. You don't want to use straight up boiling water. You can, but the ideal temperature, at least according to a lot of the packages, is 80 degrees Celsius. So I don't know, 180 Fahrenheit probably. Basically, when you're boiling your water, sometimes I'll just, instead of letting it come to a boil, I'll turn the heat off when like it's just about to boil, when the bubbles on the bottom start forming. Or if you're camping, what I'll do is I'll just fill this up the night before with boiling water, and in the morning it'll have cooled enough to be like the right temperature for drinking. If not, you can burn yourself or kind of burn, I guess, the yerba too. Anyway, so I took my first sip, and then what we do is we mold the yerba again. We make another hole, and then we're ready for the second one. And now from here, we just keep repeating this process of we pour some in, we drink it, and then we reshape it and then pour more in. So I'll drink this and show you how to do the rest. All right, so I just drank some, and then we're gonna, it's kind of hard with one hand, but we're gonna reshape our yerba, make another hole, and then we're going to pour more water in. Once again, we're going to keep some dry on the other side. And now we repeat this process of drink, mold, and then pour. And you just keep repeating that process over and over and over. Eventually, though, your mate is going to run out of flavor. And so when that happens, what you do is you pick up your bombilla, rotate the mate a little bit, and then push it back down and remold. Now what we've done is now we have a new section comprised of like half dry and half wet yerba. And then we can go ahead and keep drinking more water in that hole, repeating the same process as before. And throughout the day, as we're drinking it, you can just rotate, and then you get a lot of new batches of yerba that haven't been touched yet. And that way you can get your yerba to last you a lot longer, and you could be drinking this thing, you know, putting, 1 or 2 whole liters of water through this cup and never run out of flavor. So another note about mate is that it's got a crap ton of caffeine in it. Now down there in South America, in Uruguay, they say that there isn't caffeine in that it's rather a chemical called, I guess, mateina. And as far as I can tell, I don't think anything like that really exists chemical-wise. They say that, like, the scientists who have studied it say that's the same composition as caffeine. Anyway, it's got a lot of caffeine in it, and so this thing gives you a crap ton of energy. So when I first discovered mate, I didn't know that it had a lot of caffeine in it. I didn't know that it gave you a lot of energy. Because down in South America, they're so used to it, it doesn't really give them energy anymore. It's just a good drink that they drink all the time. So the first time I drank it at night, because when I drink tea, usually I'm used to like chamomile, or it's something that you drink before you go into bed to relax, right? So a nice warm drink, it helped me sleep. And so I got a little bag of yerba, prepared my mate like this, and I drank it about 10 o'clock at night. And I kid you not, I thought I was like going crazy, because I was lying there in bed twiddling my thumbs like, what did I just do? Like, what is wrong with me? Turns out it was this stuff. I mean, I've drinking caffeine before, right? You know, energy drink, soda, but this thing just hit me different. I don't know if that's that way for everyone, but it's great. Supposedly it also has other health benefits too. Of course, like everything, you don't want to drink too much of it, because everything needs to be in moderation. But it's supposed to help you with digestion. It's a diuretic, so it makes you pee a lot, so keep that in mind too. They say it also, some studies say that it helps with osteoporosis or something like that, but you have to look into that. Anyway, it's probably the healthiest energy drink you can get, you know, because you know exactly what's in it. You've got your yerba leaves, you've got water, that's it. I mean, you could add sugar. I prefer not, because it's, you know, a lot healthier without sugar, and to me it tastes better, honestly. And there you have it. That's mate.